I'm going to be talking about scenario planning for economic futures. So first of all, who am I? My name is Anna, and my background's in computer science and communication. I've been in the AI policy space for about 5 years, and the last 2 years of this time I've been focused on the economic risks of developing human-level AI and what this entails. And lately I've been on this mission to start this new org called the Windfall Trust. We're maybe like 2 weeks away from having our first website up, but we'll be focused on these exact issues. So our goal will be societal preparedness for the disruption of transformative AI, specifically focused on econ. And we'll be doing 3 main things. One is raising awareness about the possible futures we may have ahead, and kind of creating a global conversation around said topics and trying to create a bit of urgency and preparedness. 2, developing policy recommendations, developing policies and interventions that push the envelope a little bit on the more radical scenarios we have neglected in current discussions. And lastly, a lot of field building and convening, trying to get economists, policymakers, folks from the labs in the same room talking about this. Great. So why scenario planning? I'm quite bullish on scenarios because there's 2 ways they're really important. One, right now I think people lack imagination for what the future could look like with human-level AI. And 2, I think scenarios also give people permission to suspend disbelief and engage with more radical scenarios or with outcomes that are really outside the Overton window and develop them or even talk about them. So I'm quite keen on the earlier comment on let's avoid the timeline discussion for now and focus on what could the world look like. So this is how we've been thinking about it at Windfall, and I'm going to show you a tool I've been developing to operate under uncertainty. So the 2 variables I've been most interested in are AI access and cognitive reach. AI access because this will dictate where wealth might be concentrated and how we could design new taxation systems or wealth capture mechanisms in general for this transition. And on the other axis, it's essentially how powerful AI will be and how deep will the redistribution need to go. So the first thing we can do here is start mapping out existing policy ideas that exist and try to identify neglected areas. And I also find that it could be unhelpful to compare policies that are just designed for very different futures and worlds. So, on one side of this graph, we might have something like global UBI and global redistribution, and something along the top end of the graph might look like, how do we transition to a four-day work week, for example? And this will help us prioritize as well based on what's happening in the world. But I think where I find this most interesting is actually in the world building aspect. And so we've been gathering economists to try to start with a certain set of assumptions, develop these worlds, but we've also been asking them, what are some interesting proxies for early warning signs around these different cases? And my goal as a next step of where to take this to is to try to build forecasting indices around each of the scenarios we'll develop. And what that looks like, it's maybe 15 to 30 questions for each scenario. And individually, the questions aren't interesting. It could be like, how many jobs will be lost in call centers in 2026 in this country? But when you take the aggregate of all of them, suddenly you start having interesting signals to see if you're moving towards or away from different scenarios. And we've been talking with Metaculus to try to partner to build out something like this. And yeah, I guess I'll just leave us with this slide. We prepare for pandemics before an outbreak, but why should we wait for economic collapse to plan for mass automation? So this will be the goal of Windfall, and we'll be trying to make the social safety nets and welfare conversation catch up to the pace of AI progress. So thank you for listening, and I'm right on time. Thank you.